January 21st, and I watched It Chapter 2. Finally. First, let me start by saying this one's a really tough one to talk about or even review, because technically it's a remake of a book. You had the book, then you had the movie, which was a made-for-TV movie, and then you had this movie, which I know is a sequel to the first one. So we're now talking about a remake of a book. So there's gonna be a lot that's lost in translation. I know that going into it. So instead of comparing it to the book or anything like that, I'm just gonna imagine for a second that this lives on its own. So, it living on its own. Let me start by saying that this movie was great. I definitely thought it was a great movie. No problems there. Has some of the coolest transitions, coolest sequence stitching that I've ever seen. I love the way that the stars turn into puzzle pieces, the way the blood drips from the bathtub drip onto the pillows. They did such a great job of connecting every scene and making the viewer feel like you didn't have to jump from one place to another. It was all seamless. Loved it. But let's talk about a few things that bothered me. So, let's start with an obvious one. Apparently, every single person that was a part of the Losers Club as an adult has completely forgotten why they left Derry, what happened in Derry. As a matter of fact, Bill Hader, I'm pretty sure it's Bill, has a line that says he forgot he even grew up in Derry. So, you have all of these people who have completely forgotten everything about it. Obviously, until they show back up in Derry. Except, there's a problem. Ben, aka used to be the fat kid, has always kept Beverly's note. Except, why would you keep that note? If you've forgotten everything about Derry, what would that note mean to you? And wouldn't it bother you that you've had selective amnesia your entire life about this note? Okay, let's imagine for a second you don't forget everything about Derry. But wouldn't the relationship between Ben and Beverly been more solidified because of what happened with Pennywise? So therefore, every time you looked at that note, it would have had to have recalled some of those memories. And if it didn't, wouldn't that bother you more that there were these huge blank spaces in your head? Can we talk about how when they come back to Derry, they have dinner at this Asian restaurant, and in the middle of dinner, they proceed to absolutely destroy their table? The gentleman is throwing his chair on the table, and the waitress simply walks up and says, "Everything okay back here?" No, everything's not okay. Chances are you're calling the police because there are lunatics screaming and throwing things inside of your restaurant. Now, let's just move past all that to what I think is the biggest problem I have with the It story in the franchise. So you have Pennywise the Clown, who is clearly, throughout the course of this film, going around and murdering people. Not only people, children. Except, why is it that Pennywise is so quick to kill all these kids, yet these adults, he's just letting them hang out? Why are you taking your time? It's like the classic Bond villain mistake where he's like, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let them gather their strength. I'm gonna let them get to the peak. Because, I understand everyone says that it's all about fear because apparently to Pennywise, fear tastes better. I don't know. They never explain it in the movie. So let's just imagine fear does taste better. Except, why would you continue to scare them? After a while, it's just common sense that the fear will eventually dwindle down. They're gonna get completely immune to it the more you do it, as it's shown in both films. Also, why are these adults who can suddenly start remembering things from their past, why are they so afraid of the clown once they remember everything? They defeated it as kids. You can do it again. Why are you scared? An odd one is when we look at all of the storylines that happen throughout the film. You have Eddie, you have Beverly, all of them. Why is it that Eddie's character, when he's alone, is completely fearless? Sees a zombie-like creature at the store, decides to choke it out. Has a murderer show up and stab him in the face, and then he proceeds to stab him back. Which, by the way, do not take a knife out of its wound. Let it stay there, don't remove it. Yet when he's in a group of a large group, he freezes up. It blows my mind. And then another problem I really had was Stanley killing himself, which suicide is never the answer. But let me say, I don't understand how in the film decides to commit suicide, and then he writes a letter to them saying the reason he did it is because he knew if he wasn't there, they wouldn't succeed. Except I thought everyone completely forgot about what happened. Okay? Now, also, let's imagine everyone didn't forget and he decided to do this for that reason. What makes him think him being dead makes them any stronger? And I don't know if the little note at the end wraps it up pretty enough. I just don't know if it works, because for me, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I definitely loved the movie. I know I have particular things I'm nitpicking on, but the movie as a whole was fantastic. I definitely suggest you watch it. Obviously, I have strong opinions about it. Let me know how you feel about them. If not, no biggie.